like léegi te jamono jàpp ma ba nga foog ne dama la fàtte yàlla saa yi jëfe jamono rekk la du caageen dama la bàyyee ngir lañu defoon manu ko sul nañu meloon lañu siqoon manu ko sul fañu jaaro lañu dundu on nous jamais namanale fama jóge woo yenn saay sama xel dem ci nit ñu baax ñamu séqaloon ngir mënu fàtte ki la yaataloon ki la mayoo mënu fàtte ki la defaloon ki la yëroo ki la bëggoon oh non jamais nam naa leen nam naa leen nam naa leen man New York yéen
Good evening, everyone. Oh, nice. For those of you who don't know, my name is Tim Klitz. I'm chair of the ISD Board of Trustees. And on behalf of the trustees, welcome to the 2026 Annual General Meeting, or AGM. For those of you in attendance, as well as those of us joining via our live stream, this meeting is meant to present to the ISD Association the work the board has done this school year, the financial status of the school, and to provide other updates to the association, including the election of new trustees for the upcoming school year. Before we begin our presentation, there are some housekeeping items to mention. We will be asking those in attendance to approve the meeting minutes from last year's meeting. A link to those minutes was included in the agenda shared with the community, as well as on the flyers in the entrance and on the pillars here. There will be a question and answer section after the financial presentation, so please hold your questions until that part. After this meeting, we will invite you to join us for some refreshments outside the theater. And finally, there are a few minor changes to the agenda that was shared with the community. 3 of our trustees who are scheduled to present, Latoya, our secretary, Julie, our treasurer, and Jules, who's chair of our Governance and Development Committee, have had urgent matters come up and will not be able to join us. We will do our best to present in their place. So let's begin. The American singer and songwriter Bob Dylan wrote, "The times they are a-changin'," and that they are. Fortunately, our school's motto is challenge, create, change. A good international school like ISD is adept at managing the change that is foundational to our international existence. Every year we say goodbye to friends and colleagues and welcome new members to the ISD family. Change is not something that should frighten us. It should, and it does, challenge us, definitely. It challenges us to create a community that is strong enough, resilient enough to manage that change, while still maintaining who we are as a community. These last 2 years have seen change not only within the ISD community, but in the world at large. The board has endeavored to navigate as best we can these changes to ensure that ISD remains the school and the community we all love and want to be a part of. The best thing about ISD is our community. The board has continued to connect with the community in a variety of different ways this year, in addition to this general meeting. At the beginning of each of our monthly meetings, we reserve time for public comments from the community, and this year parents have joined us for those sessions. We held a board meet and greet in January. We hosted a trick-or-treat station at the Halloween event. We've attended PTO meetings, as well as many of the other activities that our vibrant campus and community have held this year. The school is also, for the first time, developing an annual report for the community to see all that ISD is and does. This report will be shared with the community once the finishing touches are completed. In board meetings this year, faculty members have given presentations on such topics as the diploma program, child protection and safeguarding, social emotional learning, and learning support. These presentations provided trustees with a better understanding of how the school supports our students. Also this year, during our board meetings, we tried something different. Our monthly meetings take place during dinner time, so each month the board gets to share a meal together. This year, we reached out to several members of the ISD family who own restaurants or provide catering services and asked them to share their love of food with us. I admit it has been a nice perk to have such delicious meals, but more importantly, allowed us on the board to the opportunity to learn more about who our ISD family is and what their passions are. I'm personally very proud of this meaningful connection, and I hope it continues in the future. And now, down to business. Last year, the board adopted a 2-year strategic plan, something that had been absent from our work for a couple of years. I won't go into much detail on the strategic priorities of academic success, student well-being, and efficient systems, as Nika will present those. But the board's role in the strategic plan is to establish it and then support Nika and her team as they implement it. We support these priorities by making sure the school has the resources it needs. We do this primarily through the budgets that we approve. This year, the board has also internalized the effective systems and processes strategic priority by creating a dashboard for monitoring various aspects of the school, by completing its work on updating the policy manual and creating a board handbook, and by laying the groundwork for our next strategic plan by observing and documenting opportunities and challenges we see the school potentially encountering in the next 3 to 5 years. These were the goals that the board established for itself in August at our board retreat. These goals and their deliverables will be presented to you later in the program. Let's take a step back and talk more broadly about the board, about who we are and what we do. The board is composed of 9 volunteer trustees, all of us parents of current students at ISD. The majority of us have been elected by the association, and a majority of us have U.S. citizenship. Both of those are requirements laid out in our bylaws. The 9 trustees are the only members of the board who can vote on the board matters. In addition to us 9 trustees, the board relies on the participation, advice, and guidance of our non-voting members, which include the director, the assistant director, both principals, the faculty representative, and the U.S. ambassador's representative. Holding all of this together and keeping us on task is our board assistant, Daniela. The Board of Trustees is the governing body of the school. We exist to ensure the long-term success of ISD. The purpose of the board is to provide the strategic oversight for the school. We set the mission and direction of the school and task the director with its implementation. We approve the budget and ensure proper financial controls are in place. We establish and revise policies to set parameters and provide guidance for the school. We are responsible for a single employee, the director. We hire, support, and evaluate the director. We entrust the execution of the strategic objectives, adherence to policy, and daily operations of the school to the director. The director is the executive officer of the school and is responsible for the organization, operation, and administration of the total ISD program. The shorthand way we on the board have been talking about what our responsibilities are versus what the director's responsibilities are is like this. The board establishes the what and the why. The director then establishes the how and the who. Now let's turn to the board goals for this year. Each of the goals this year fell to one of our committees. We have 4 standing committees: Governance and Development, Finance, Policy, and Buildings and Grounds. This year, in order to reach our 3rd goal, we established the Ad Hoc Opportunities and Challenges Committee. Our committees are chaired by trustees, but include other board members as well as other members of the administration. They all worked very hard this year, not only on their regular responsibilities, but on our goals as well. And I thank all of them for their commitment and perseverance. Our first goal this year was to identify metrics to monitor school performance and implement a process for reporting such to the board. To tell you more about this goal, I invite Chris York, Board Vice Chair and Governance and Development Committee Vice Chair, to the podium.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, when we first started the board meetings this past fall, we realized that there's a lot of data available about the school that was just in many different formats and different locations, and we thought it's probably a good idea to have a dashboard that pulls a lot of these key measures together so that we can review it and make reference to it during the course of the school year. So our objective officially was to develop a dashboard for us as the board with the goal of providing us a clear and accessible overview of key performance areas. The intention wasn't to create a huge a new data collection system, but to consolidate existing information into a format that's manageable and that supports the oversight and decision making that we do as a board. So you can see an example for the total enrollment. It's a very basic thing, but it's a quite important thing to keep track of over time and see where we're going with it. Measures that we selected for the current dashboard were the IB-DP exam results. This is the final test at the very end of the experience in the program. So we have the pass rate, we have the average score, and then we have MAP test results. These are a bit of an approximation because we have no other way of quantifying academic performance besides grades, but at least the MAP test results give us something that's showing an average. It shows a trend over the course of a year with each cohort, and they can be benchmarked against regional schools and regional averages. We also have educational staff retention. It's an important thing to measure how well we're keeping our staff here, the rate and the trend of retention. And of course, yeah, we talked about student enrollment. And finally, financials, of course, that's a very key aspect of managing the school. So we have an operations statement, we have capital resources and expenses, and we have funds available. So these are updated on a monthly basis based on the statements that are coming out of the finance team. So most of these measures are updated, with the exception of finance. Most of these measures are updated once or twice per year because they're not changing a lot, or they're usually evaluations started at the beginning and at the end of the school year. The dashboard was developed during the fall of 2025. It was finally approved by the board in December, and so it's basically been maintained since then. This is going to continue to be a living document. As we identify additional KPIs, we can add them, but we'll continue to maintain it every year and use it as a tool for our governance of the school. Okay.
Thank you very much. Our second goal this year was to develop and approve the board policy manual and handbook. And I invite Daniel van Leuven, chair of our policy committee, to the podium.
So in line with our second board goal of this year, I'm happy to report that the Board of Trustees has approved revised policy manual just last month. This effort is sort of the culmination of over a year-long process that involved really modernizing the governance policies of ISD in line with international good practice, and it's a process that's been undertaken by many other international schools. It really builds upon the foundation of the Articles of Association and the bylaws, but with all that, the revised policy manual sets the direction of good governance here at the school, including defining ISD's values. It outlines fiduciary safeguards, sets out frameworks that will help ISD achieve positive, measurable outcomes in academic excellence, student well-being, financial management. So in line with this international good practice, the revised policy manual, as Tim was just saying, it separates the what and why, which is kept at the policy manual at the governance policy level, and divides that from more operational matters, the how and the who. Details that we have, through this process this year and with the help of an expert consultant, have identified in what we've been calling the legacy policy manual, and flagging that so it can be migrated and incorporated into the operational handbooks here at the school. What this is really resulting in is a number of strategic benefits for ISD. I'll highlight them here for you now. Just one is agility, really, that the director can more easily and quickly respond to local and global changes without waiting for board level approval on things that are really clearly operational matters. Second, accountability. The policy manual entrusts the director as a single port of accountability, again, as Tim was saying, with the effective governance policy as the head of school. The policy manual also sets clear policies on accountability for us as board members, on faculty and staff, students, and members of the ISD community. Finally, in terms of sustainability, policies in this manual set out appropriate risk management procedures to protect the school from, for example, financial risk, contextual risks, and other kinds of risks to ensure that the school is able to thrive for generations to come. But of course, this work is not finished. As a living document, the policy committee, in consultation with the full board of directors, or board of trustees and the director, will continue to review and update this policy manual as needed to make sure that it's continuing relevance and alignment with our foundational documents, board goals, and the school's community's changing needs. So in conclusion, we invite all members of the association to view these policies. They will be made available on the website hopefully by the end of the month. And that gives the school community a good chance to review them before they take effect on August 1st. So we invite everyone to take to review these policies so that we can be aware and that we can see them really as the foundation of our own commitment to academic excellence at ISD fiduciary responsibility, transparency, and really the well-being and success of every student here at ISD. Finally, just on the board handbook as well, just a small note, the handbook, of course, is how we ourselves as the board organize ourselves, do our work together. That is an effort that will be completed by the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dallin. Our third goal this year was to identify and assess long-term challenges and opportunities within the broader environment in which the school operates to inform our long-term strategic plan. We created the Ad Hoc Opportunities and Challenges Committee to work on this, and now I invite Carrie Vandermaiden, co-chair of the committee, to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Our goal in the Ad Hoc Committee was to identify and assess long-term risks and opportunities over the next 3 to 5 years for ISD to remain the premier English language learning international school of Dakar. This work was intended to inform ISD's strategic planning and position ISD to respond in a well-calibrated and data-driven way to change. We looked at economic, demographic, educational, political, and environmental factors that could shape the future of the school, and saw the trends listed on this slide as the most potentially influential. While many of our prior planning assumptions were based on higher levels of student enrollment, we see that shifts in the demographics of our expatriate population in Dakar seem likely to keep enrollment figures around 600 students per year, more or less. And based on that assumption, the administration under Nika's leadership is right-sizing the school to fit projections while maintaining the high quality of education and campus offerings unique to ISD. In light of these trends, we plan to keep ISD at the forefront of the international educational landscape in Dakar by targeted marketing to families of growing multinational firms, such as within the oil and gas industries, to attract new enrollments. We will ensure that we showcase the high qualifications of ISD staff, given how this positively impacts learning outcomes. We will have continued focus on attracting and retaining high-quality educators at ISD. Then in terms of positioning the school to face regional and global uncertainties through academic and trend inquiries that we conducted over the last year, we found that Senegal remains a stable country among its West African neighbors. For our part at ISD, continuing to build and strengthen security partnerships within the US and other embassies and with local security services remains a priority, with clear communication across our community of relevant issues and the school's plans to face them as they may arise. Beyond physical security, we noted a clear rising trend in cybersecurity issues in West Africa, particularly since the beginning of 2026. And ensuring data integrity is a top priority at ISD, and the administration is actively engaged in planning for mitigation of these concerns. Overall, in collaboration with the director, we found that ISD is well positioned to proactively address these noted trends. Thank you very much.
The formal approval of meeting minutes from last year's AGM is an important part of how ISD and the Board of Trustees maintain a record of our work, a snapshot of where we were at the moment of the meeting. We use this method with all of our monthly board meetings. The approved meeting minutes are available to the association to review on the board page in the parent faculty portal on the school's website. In order for the minutes to be valid and accepted, we get to do some simple parliamentarian work. As we do with all of our decision items brought before the board, we move to approve or vote on the item and call for someone to second or support moving to a vote on the motion. Once a second is recognized, the vote to approve or not approve can proceed. A simple majority vote is needed to approve the minutes. So now you all get to engage in more direct democracy. I now move that the minutes from last year's AGM be approved. Is there a second? Just need to raise your hand if you want to move forward. I see Maggie says, thank you very much, Maggie. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay. Thank you very much. The motion passes. The minutes have been approved. Next, we'll move to the director's presentation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nika Johnson to the podium.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to everyone for being here today. I plan on discussing our strategic priorities, the work that we've done this school year. Please note that the items that I have on the slides, it's not an exhaustive list, but some of the things that I really wanted to share with the community. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the learnings from the parent feedback survey that was closed yesterday. Okay, so this is a reminder, if you don't remember from last year, how we came up with our strategic priorities. For those who are new or those who don't remember, it was a collaborative process with meetings with over one-to-one meetings I've had with over 80 faculty members, staff members, surveys. I attended weekly student council meetings, parent focus groups. Just want to share that these 3 strategic priorities that we've identified were completely collaborative, meaning that collaboratively the community felt like these were the 3 things we had to work on. We also added our CIS accreditation feedback. Okay, so as you know, these are our 3 strategic priorities: enhancing academic success, student well-being, effective systems and processes. Okay, so what have we done this school year to, I guess, achieve, what actions have we taken to achieve our strategic priorities? The first one, enhancing academic success. Now, mind you, this is a lot of text, and I asked him beforehand, you'll have access to this in the portal, so you'll be able to read this at your own leisure. But I'm gonna highlight some of the things that we have done this school year, like aligning our ATL approaches to learning skills, which are the skills that students need to think critically and support their learning. We are launching a new observation and professional growth plan for teachers that the administration and some teachers have worked on this school year. We've established a curriculum review cycle. Some of the highlights of some of the things done in the elementary school, there is now a new math curriculum. Congratulations, Francis and Hasna. Secondary school, and I think the first part of this has been really successful, the mandatory after-school study support, where kids have the opportunity to, I guess, what do you say, they have the opportunity to take exams or summatives that they did not have before, so they're being held accountable. And I think that improves the academics because they're being held accountable for their learning, for their exams. We have been working feverishly with the secondary administration, also with the incoming principal, to identifying graduation paths, because the diploma is not for everyone, but we have to make sure we have paths for our students for after they leave ISD. Our interim secondary principal has observed all classrooms and provided feedback, and we have focused at the secondary school level on professional development focused on Tier 1 interventions which support best teaching and learning practices. Okay, this is a lot, right? I hope this shows that how passionate we are as a school about student well-being. So I'm not gonna read all of this. I'm gonna highlight some of the things. Before I start, the first thing I want to share is that for a school our size, there are usually 2 counselors. Did you get that? For a school with 650 students, there are usually 2 counselors. We have 5 counselors and 1 mental health therapist. And I want to share that because I want you all to understand and see that we are putting our money where our mouth is. We believe in student well-being, supporting the wellness of our students. So some of the things that we have done this school year with the support of our child safeguarding lead, Tracy Yates, is training for faculty. Secondary school this year launched a class for social emotional learning, where it is a class in the timetable, whereas before it was not. We hired deans for high school and middle school, and through that also we've increased adult visibility. The one thing that I will share, I'm gonna go off script a little bit. When I started last year, the first thing that parents kept coming up to me to share was that they felt like there was a lot of bullying, there was a lot of things happening in secondary school with behavior that they were not happy with. Well, I'm here to say that a lot of that has been addressed. The counselors have shared there has been a significant decrease in conflicts between students. I'm not saying there are no conflicts, because they're children, right? Teenagers, they're supposed to be conflicts, but the pervasive bullying and things that were happening last year is no longer happening. And because I feel like some of the steps we've taken with the social emotional learning, the student visibility, and the hiring of the deans. So, effective systems and processes, these are primarily auxiliary actions. As I said before, this is not an exhaustive list, so there are going to be things that we have not mentioned, I have not entered on this slide. But along the lines of what Carrie shared, we have been extremely strategic in how we have been marketing. We have reached out to new families. We are doing a lot to try to address our enrollment decline. You know, as many of you know, I was here 5 years before. We never were a member of the American Chamber of Commerce. We're a full-on member now. We host events for the Chamber of Commerce. We attend events for the Chamber of Commerce, just to make sure that we're visible in Dakar. We've tried things. We are being innovative, thinking outside the box with our early childhood pricing and our promotion. We've really focused on strategic marketing with social media. Our social media reach has expanded. And this is also along the lines of something Carrie shared. We are investing in a student information system, another way to ensure data is protected while streamlining our systems. We've really invested a lot in our internal HR systems, and we've really tried to address some of our sustainability efforts, which are some initiatives led with ACE and design through students. So solar panels, thank you, Rebecca, for sending emails for the students saying how much solar energy we're using versus, like it really makes a difference. So those are the things that we have invested in, and we see it. We see the result of our investment. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about our parent feedback survey. So I would like to thank you all who submitted responses. We had a total of 79 responses, both in English and French, totally. So thank you so much, because it takes a lot of time to fill out a survey, so we really appreciate your time. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the strategic plan. This was a new question that we added this year. We wanted to know what you all thought, parents thought about the progress in our strategic initiatives. So 60% of parents feel positive about the future direction of the school. 56% of parents feel positive about the progress with us promoting advancing academic success. 83% of parents feel that we are advancing student well-being, and 55% of parents who filled out the survey, we need to keep that in mind, feel that we're advancing our effective systems and processes. Okay, so we also pulled some of the data to compare it to last year's data to see if we grew. And I think that's really important for us to always reflect and make sure that we're doing better than we did last school year. So this is promising. There was a 15% increase in parents that are extremely likely to recommend ISD. That's excellent, and I'm hoping it grows and grows. Safety and well-being, there's an 18.5% increase of parents feeling that their children feel safe at school, 12% increase of parents feeling that campus is clean and safe, and 7.5% increase of parents feeling that we have a welcoming community at ISD. But also, we also have to take the things where we need to grow, right? So we see, this is good that there 8% increase in parents feeling that we care, we have teachers that care about your students, right? That should, in my mind, that should be 100%. You know, so there's a room for growth there, right? But these things that the survey showed that there was a decrease in parents who strongly agree that we provide an appropriate academic challenge for children. And there's also a decrease in parents that agree that we provide a well-balanced program of sports, arts, and other activities. Please note, we are taking this feedback to heart. I'm in consistent communication with our incoming secondary principal, and he is well aware of our strategic priorities, and we will have a conversation as a leadership team about this survey and about the survey results. So I also want to talk about the comments. So Shelley and I, reviewed the survey yesterday. We didn't have a lot of time because we wanted to make sure some of the data was on these slides, but there were a lot of comments around parents feeling that there's a lack of a strategic pedagogical approach to screen use in the classroom, and there are concerns that parents feel like they're not being heard by the ISD leadership. And I want to really share that we hear you. We value you. We are grateful for you to bring in your children at our school. And to that, I wanted to share, because that came up a lot, and I wanted to acknowledge and share some of the actions that we have taken, right? Because I think sometimes there's a feeling that, oh, the school hasn't done anything, but I'm here to say we have taken action, we care, we listen, and we are addressing concerns. We had an informational session on March 18th, and that was just for information. We had a discussion the week after with the senior leadership team and the IT director, and we are consistently taking actions. I have consistent communication with the leader of the parent technology group. We've increased, this is 2 months of things that we've done. We've increased restrictions, we've made substantial technology investments. We now have a technology policy in the elementary school. There was an additional technology survey sent out in the secondary school, and we have a strong commitment to a technology committee next school year, where we will have a new IT director and a new secondary principal, and they are aware that this is an expectation for all of us to participate. The goal of this committee, in my mind, is to reflect properly on how we are using technology in teaching and learning. And my vision for this committee is to have teachers, parents, administrators, and students. So keep an eye out next school year for this committee, because we will be engaging in these conversations, because I want you all to know that we value your perspective and we are reflecting on our practices. And that is it. But if you have any questions about anything I shared, or something comes to your mind later in the day, please email me. I think by now everyone should have my WhatsApp number. I want to hear from you. Text me, email me, come see me in my office. I'm more than happy to have a conversation. Thank you so much.
Okay. Fiduciary and financial oversight is a key duty of the board. With the political and economic changes we're experiencing in Senegal, Greater Africa, and the rest of the world, it is vital that the board exercise that duty strategically, with empathy, and responsibly to ensure ISD success both now and in the future. ISD is a nonprofit institution. All monies received are put back into the school in one way or another. ISD is not meant to make money, but to be sustainable and balanced with our mission. These last 2 years have been trying financially. We are very fortunate that previous boards and administrations took their fiscal responsibilities seriously. This has allowed for significant financial resources that are allowing us to weather the changes we are experiencing. Our fiscal year runs from August 1st to July 31st. This portion of the presentation will cover this school year's financial situation, with the understanding that the fiscal year is not yet done. We will also provide information on next year's approved budget. In February of 2025, the board approved the budgets for this school year. And at the beginning of this school year, we made a few changes to our financial practice and budget. First, we approved a new reserve allocation, the risk reserve. This provides financial coverage in the event certain risks arise. We also changed how we define our reserves, moving from a balance sheet calculation to a cash-based calculation. This change has provided us a transparent and accurate picture of ISD's financial readiness this year. The board also amended this year's budget book in October. This update took into consideration already existing changes to operating expenses due to this year's staffing pattern. The amendment also updated the CFA to US dollar exchange rate assumption applied in our budgeting process. This has resulted in a more realistic estimate of our financial outlook. The cumulative effect of these changes was an estimated decrease in our anticipated budget deficit. We want to highlight the important financial figures for this school year. Here you're looking at the major budgeted items as determined in the February approved budget. And then in the October revised budget, compared to where we expect to be at the end of the fiscal year in July. You can see that our operating and capital reserves have increased. This is due to a slight increase in enrollment during the school year. You can also see the budget deficit we are anticipating. But even with this projected deficit, which has decreased from the February budget to the October and the October revised budget, we still have strong financial reserves. Looking more closely at this year's operating budget, you can see that the vast majority of funds from the operating revenue, this is from tuition fees and interest from investments, goes towards our faculty and staff. This is typical for an international school. In order to recruit and maintain high-level international staff, salary and benefits must be competitive. Most of our educational expenses are the elementary, secondary, athletics and activities, and IT budgets for the year. The IT expenses cover expenses like the internet for school and software licensing. Our capital budget is based on the capital fees collected each year. This budget is used to repair and upgrade the physical presence of the campus. This includes painting buildings, solar panel installations, and the enclosure of the pagoda. Our capital budget also covers the expenses for any construction we may have on campus, and, as has been the case for the last few years, it helps repay the loan we received in order to purchase the annexed piece of land across the Corniche from the main campus. I mentioned earlier our financial reserves. Here's a breakdown of how we are allocating those reserves for this school year. Hopefully the titles give you a clear sense. Enrollment is to cover any enrollment gaps. That is something that we've unfortunately had to utilize these last couple of years. The emergency reserve has been reduced this year because we have increased our insurance coverage. What the emergency reserve is if the school has to suddenly shut down and we have to evacuate faculty and staff, this helps pay for that. By reducing the emergency reserve and by increasing our coverage, this has increased our premiums a little, but it provides us with enough financial coverage if we need to evacuate all faculty from Senegal. This is unlikely, but we do need to be prepared for it. The capital reserves are just that, for the physical upkeep of campus. The director's search is a reserve that was put in place a few years ago for when the process comes around for searching for a new director. And the risk reserve was the reserve that I had mentioned earlier in the presentation. Turning to next school year, here are the priorities we took into account when drafting and approving the budget for school year 2026-2027. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can see that we want to make sure that ISD is attractive for talented faculty. We want to maintain and operate top quality facilities. We want to respond to enrollment patterns. We want to keep tuition increases as low as possible. When compiling the budget, we based it off of some key assumptions. You can see here the key assumptions for next year. Enrollment of 600 students, about a 4% increase in tuition fees, a reduction in pre-K tuition fees. And we chose to reduce the pre-K fees as a strategic and longer-term effort to increase enrollment. The fees make us more competitive with other local schools for that school age range. For the third year in a row, we have not increased our capital fees for both new and returning families. And we have budgeted for 9 fewer positions for next school year. There's also the intention that the budget for school year 2027-2028 will align staffing with enrollment figures. This means that some contracts may not be renewed depending on enrollment, and that some positions of departing staff may not be refilled. With those key assumptions, we approved a budget that will be in deficit. As a nonprofit institution, our aim is to have a balanced budget. The decrease in enrollment due to our changing world has made a balanced budget challenging to achieve over these last 2 years. The board took the strategic and empathetic approach to utilize some of our financial reserves to cover the budget deficits in order to minimize the impact on student learning as well as the impact on our faculty and staff. However, the main takeaway from this presentation is that with over $9 million in reserves going into school year 2026-2027, we are positioned to continue delivering excellent learning experiences while carefully managing costs. And now comes the interactive part, question and answer times. For those of you watching online, please feel free to write in your questions in the chat. We will try to answer everyone's questions, though there may be some questions we will be unable to answer right now. If that is the case, we will take note of your question and provide an answer at a later time. And I'm going to ask for a runner. Can I get Francis? You're going to get your steps in. It's not on. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and Francis will come to you. And Shelley will also interject when there's online ones. Yes?
I think now.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. I have a question regarding the dashboard that you've mentioned. So I think it's great news to know that you now have developed a dashboard, and I was wondering if this dashboard will be also available for parents to view, or at least if we can access some of the KPI. I'm particularly interested in the evolution of the result, which was a question I've sent to the board a couple of days ago.
Right. I will ask the architect of the dashboard to answer.
Thanks very much for the question. The dashboard was designed for the use by the board to help in its decision making. I think we can discuss in the board whether we can make that available to the community, because a lot of it is basic information that, like some of the information we've been presenting during this meeting, that could be and should be accessible to you. So let's take that up in the next board meeting, and as soon as we have a decision, we can make it available. Yeah?
Mr. Nick.
This is my third AGM, and it's not an AGM unless Nick asks a question.
Exactly. Thank you. My name is Mr. Nick. I have a better half and a smarter half, Miss Laura, who's K through 2 counselor. I'm the head of the design department. Some of the people I don't know on the stage, actually. Some of them I teach or children. I had 3 periods today plus another block where I had a meeting, so I had to write this out. So my apologies. I'm going to do it, Tim, and read a narrative.
No worries.
So part of this is known, and I could be wrong when I state this out, so please do correct me. So over the past several years, the board has made significant long-term financial decisions, including the purchase of additional land intended for future campus expansion. While growth projections at the time may have supported that decision, circumstances obviously have changed. Enrollment has declined, external constraints have affected the usability of that land at times, and the school is now carrying a debt obligation while operating under financial pressure. So my question is about governance and checks and balances. Given that the articles and associations and bylaws appear to give the board broad authority over major financial and property decisions, does the board believe there should be stronger governance safeguards for exceptionally large capital commitments? For example, land purchases, major borrowing, large-scale campus development. So specifically, would the board consider creating a formal mechanism ranging from mandatory association consultation through a special ad hoc assembly where proposals, financial modeling, and risk assessments are presented, all the way up to the extreme, I guess, would be requiring association approval by a supermajority vote for decisions above a defined threshold? That's a lot.
It is a lot. Those are very big questions. It is not something that we have discussed, to be honest. May I ask that you send me those questions?
Yeah.
And I would happily bring it and bring it to the board, not bring it. But I would lose that fight. I know I would. But no, those are interesting concepts. We have not explored those, but if you send those to me, we'll take those. Next year we are starting our strategic plan, working on our next strategic plan. We're in the middle of our current one, but the board next year is really going to be working on the strategic plan, the next one. Information like this may factor into that as well.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that we are a transient community, right?
Yes.
And so this board, I've been here 5 years. I'll go into my 6th year next year. Next year I have my 5th principal. I'm happy to have my 3rd principal here, or 3rd director on stage here. But the point being is that since we have a transient board, what check and balances does that association in the future? So it's more of a future question, right?
Right.
Of a governance saying, how do we make sure that that is in line with what that current
That's an excellent question, and it's something that I think all international schools deal with, because by nature we're transient. I will say that the change that the board did, was it 2 years ago when we amended the bylaws to allow for appointed trustees to serve a full 2-year term, is one way to address that. They have to have a connection to the school, but they do not need to be a parent of a current student. Up until 2 years ago, every trustee had to be a parent of a current student. By allowing for the appointment of folks who have a connection but aren't necessarily active parents, you can sort of broaden and lengthen, I think, the demographic and the skill sets that are needed to govern for an extended period of time.
So going back again to second question from somebody.
Yes, sorry, it's a different question.
Okay.
And I understand you might not have the answer right now, but I'm wondering, you're talking about the cost of the faculties. I'm wondering what's the difference between the cost of the staff and the cost of the teacher, compared to the cost of administrative staff? Just to understand, the weight of each in the overall costs.
The cost of the faculty versus, I'm sorry?
Exactly. No, the difference in terms of the faculty cost, what's the difference between the cost of the teachers versus the cost of other administrative staff?
Administrative costs versus faculty costs?
No, teachers' cost, whether non-teachers' cost, if you want. Like the principal, all the administrative staff.
Right.
Can I give that to you in case you want it? Just in case you want it.
I'm not understanding. I understand you're saying the cost between teachers versus management?
And other administrative staff that are non-teaching staff, I think is what she's saying.
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'll have to look into that. But I do want to note, it was shared to the board that last year we removed 4 administrative positions. So we came into this year 4 less admin positions. So we've prioritized student-facing positions. I wanted to make sure that's on the record. But 4 administrative positions were removed. I don't have that number. That would be an HR conversation. But maybe I can find out and see what the percentage is.
Make sure you write down that question, please.
Okay. Can you speak to the metric that we're using to make sure we're achieving the strategic priorities? Like when will we know we've achieved student well-being, and when will we know we've achieved academic success?
So for right now, for well-being, we are sending out a survey next school year to really gauge where we are. I think one metric I shared is something that was shared with counselors, the decrease of student conflict. As far as the academic success, that is still a work in progress because we're in the middle of it, but I've seen students, I feel like students are more engaged. I know it's very anecdotal, but we will have to find a way to measure it. So my answer would be very anecdotal, but it's things that we see, it's things that I've heard from parents. I don't know, Francis, if there's anything you want to share, or Hasna.
I mean, I think we are just, I mean, I've been here, this is my third year, that we've really tried to incorporate more standardized data, and we're still working on that. There'll be one change in the elementary school coming up for next year, and as you mentioned, Hasna's worked a lot on bringing in a math scheme, and that comes with its own assessment data as well. So I think it's hard in education, maybe especially with younger children, to have so much standardized data, but what we are trying to do is get the data, analyze that, and then look at student trends and growth and things like that. And I know a small example of that is the annual meeting we have in here with parents for the MAP data that we do, I'll say autumn to autumn, fall to fall, but like you having that data and looking at that data also across, trying to consider ourselves as one school, so 3-year-olds all the way to 18-year-olds, and not think of it as like an elementary school and a secondary school, to try and look for the consistency between that. And I just think constantly looking at our standards, underlining, we've done a lot of work, Hasna's done a lot of work in elementary, but secondary as well, with embedding international standards within our curriculum, and also consistency across grade levels in elementary school and subjects in secondary school, so that we're really trying to make sure, you know, it's not, as you'd say, it's not, like Nick said, it's not dependent on who the teacher is this year, who the board is this year, it's dependent on, it's documented, and this is what your child will learn, whoever their teacher may be, and that's a big goal that we've been working on. And I do think the data's starting to show that. But like you say, Nika, we're constantly looking at what the data is that we're using for that.
Shelley, are there any online questions here? No?
Thank you so much. Thanks for the presentation and the information. Just, I guess, in regards to academic progress, I mean, we saw, I think there's a 6% decline of parent satisfaction in terms of academic progress. I think it's a hot topic for most parents. We want our children to succeed. So I guess just along those lines, I know we have the MAP testing, and I know there's like lots of questions and kind of queries around the MAP testing, because some people say that it's not a good standard, and there's different, I guess, outcomes, and it's not really a good way of mapping the progress. But it would be good, and I know you're working on it, but to have a standardized way to measure how well and track how well our students are going from the beginning of the year, the mid and the end, because I feel like the MAP tests right now, they're not very well understood by many parents. We still have to ask the teachers directly for some of the results. There's a lot of variation, and I think some kids just click through really quickly, etc. So is there a better way to map the progress? And I know you have some of these results from this dashboard, but I would love to see the data on what we currently have, and if there's a better system to put in place to see how we can be transparent about the progress that children are making, and how we can improve. That would be great. Thanks.
And I would just say, as a principal, we always make a big point that MAP data, Hasna might want to speak, that MAP data is one data point, and this is a really hard thing, Karen, you made it, and it's true. Children might rush through the test, they might have a headache, all of those same things that maybe when we went to school, especially now children aren't so used to taking tests. And so we do try to be honest with that, and definitely what we share for the whole school from kinder to grade is at 10 finish is the last MAP test. We do share those with you for the twice a year for all children. Elementary does do the middle one, secondary doesn't, and we use that more for internal data, but like for all children, that's shared twice. But we do say as well, like we don't base our report grades or anything on MAP, because MAP is one data point, and so we really see that's important. But Hasna's going to say something.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. I completely understand what you're saying and also value to what you're saying. I just want to note, just the same way we say that MAP is one data point, this is one data point of a fraction of our parents. I believe it was 79 parents?
79 total.
79 total parents. Elementary, we have currently 250 students. I can only speak on the elementary front. I can't speak to the secondary or the DP. But on the elementary front, in terms of if we talk about data, if you look at the IB, knowing that we are an IB, International Baccalaureate Primary Years Program, we commit to the fact that we are it's process over a product, right? What do kids know? Skills, conceptual understanding. Every unit of inquiry has a know, understand, and do. What do we want students to know on a factual basis? What do we want them to conceptually understand, which is what do we want them to then take off and apply into the world? And then what do we want to do with that, right? And so when we start a unit of inquiry, and I don't know how many of you have come to any of my presentations, or we talk about curriculum review and what that looks like, our curriculum development over the last 3-4 years have been actually very significant. If you look at our program of inquiry and what your children might have been learning a couple of years ago to what they're learning now is very, very different. And I commend our teachers and the work and the progress that we've done with that. In terms of our standards and what our the subjects are kind of rooted in, we have a curriculum review cycle that we've done in the last couple of years. We have looked at not only our math and our English and our sciences, but we've also looked at our art and our music and our PE and our French. Every unit of inquiry starts with a pre-unit assessment, and you can ask your teachers, your homeroom teachers, what did my child come in with at the beginning of this unit of inquiry, and what did they leave with? It's not a 3-4 month just check-in progress. Progress monitoring means that you're doing it all the time. There's formative assessments that is happening all the time. You don't go from, coming in August and then leaving in June and just being like, well, tell me everything you know. Well, maybe you weren't feeling well the night before. Maybe you didn't sleep well. That's not how it works. But when you come into your child's classrooms, go to the teachers and say, can you show me, where my child is at? And I'm sure there's plenty of evidence that you can look through. I think when we talk about curriculum, we talk about academic rigor, I also want to note that there are a lot of us who have put in a lot of effort into curriculum development and growth, and we host meetings and we bring curriculum development forward, and we're trying to put these things in place. But we also need you guys to be a part of that process, right? And so when we look at math, well, I can tell you a little bit about mathematics. We're bringing in Singapore Maths for the next academic year. It is a rich program. It follows a CPA model, concrete, pictorial, and abstract. In terms of our English language, we have mapped out our reading, our writing, our skill focus areas for every single unit of inquiry. For our units of inquiry, we have developed our knows, our understands, our do's, our skills are happening throughout. And so when we talk about progress monitoring, we talk about data. The data is your kids coming home and also talking about their learning. The data is also them going on field trips and connecting to others in the community. The data is not just map and not just one standardized test that you get, but it's every single moment and every single day that they're in school as well, and the growth that they're making. And so I do want to note, yes, 79 parents answer to that, but there's also 250 kids that have a world of learning that they can share with you about a range of topics. And so I think just being mindful about those things, and please feel free to come talk to me anytime about curriculum. I am incredibly passionate about it, and I will show you tons of spreadsheets and tons of data and tons of evidence for every single unit. So I just think we should be mindful about the language that we're using when we're talking about this, and being open to those discussions, and it just not being hey, this one point of data, because there's a ton of stuff happening that maybe we need to better communicate, but there is tons of stuff happening. Thank you very much.
So just before the elementary hands over, I just want to say as well, we're not saying we're perfect. We are not saying at all. We are growing. We have got a growth mindset, and that That's what our professional development's for. That's why we're bringing people in September to work with us. So please know, we're not saying we're perfect at all, but we are really, and we believe we've achieved an incredible amount, but there's still a way to go.
Okay, I'm going to be a little briefer. I've only been here 5 months, so give me a chance. But I can say one of the areas, one of the data points, and you're very right, MAP is only just one, there are many, but one area that has been worked on a lot in the secondary school is upping our DP focus and our DP results. Now, the last lot of DP results increased by 9%. Hopefully, with our contingent this year, they're certainly working very hard. That will also increase. But a lot of work has gone in through departments and improving their units of work, their unit plans. And within their unit plans, especially in the MYP, there are the skills, the ATLs, enabling students to build on their skills so they can handle the content, the heavy content that you get in the diploma. So as a major data point, it's a long-term thing. We need to be able to collect that and to see the work that teachers have actually put in so much energy into this year and in building the scope and sequencing of the approaches to learning skills that the students need. So we cannot probably give you immediate feedback. By the end of the year, we'll have a lot more feedback. There's been tracking right through the reports, the grades, summatives, formatives, right throughout from department area to areas like personal project. So our coordinators have been tracking that. But until we finally come to the end of the year, we can look at what has come up and where we are from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Comparison by the year before, it hasn't been consistently tracked. But I think that you'll find by the beginning of next year, there will be a lot of progression, and the rigor is changing, certainly in the secondary school, but you'll have some definite data to be able to draw on, but it'll have to wait until the end of the year to have a look at those comparisons that are needed now.
Maggie's turn.
So I'm actually asking a question on behalf of someone. On the online chat, because Mana, because she can't figure out where to, I don't think it's clear where to ask questions. So she asks, could you ask, Tim, when you started saying that the board is responsible for policies, and then it seemed there were some other descriptions of policies, like the elementary tech policy. So what's a policy, and when does the board decide if a policy sits with the board or the director in terms of development and accountability? So just clarify a little bit, like when we say policy, like what
it
that
does
means.
get to be a bit confusing. So the policy manual is the sort of the overarching sort of governance thing, and that's again going back to our shorthand of the what and the why. And then the how and the who is the operational. I think to a certain extent, it's sort of human nature to say if you have a process, it's a policy. And so we use the policy word maybe a bit too much. So the tech policy and stuff like that, I don't have a better answer to like how we change it other than to say maybe it's a process or a procedure or a guideline. So the board policy really is there will be a report card system for the school. That's the board policy. What exactly that means or how that's actually implemented and developed and stuff like that then becomes an operational thing. So I know I'm not really answering the question ideally. It gets confusing, absolutely. I will say as well that, we have appointed trustees, and this is just a sort of a related thing. And we have two different types. We have those who are appointed for 2 years, and we have those who are vacancy appointments. And so last year, when we had a lot of different appointees, it gets to be confusing because we don't have better language right now. So that's something we can work on. I will say that the board policy manual will stay the board policy manual because that is sort of standard of how schools operate. How we define or what verbiage we use for how that's implemented. I leave that to Nika and her team to kind of figure out what's the best way to do that. Yeah, procedures or guidelines. Yeah.
Just for people sitting on this side, at the start of every school year, we have a 2.5-day retreat for the board. And we bring a facilitator in, and a big part of what they talk about is what is strategy, what's strategic and what's operational. And all over the world, for all of these boards, it's like that big, what is the line between those two? And that's something that we work hard on with our facilitator to make sure, I think, that it is clear, I think, that because that's always a question for people.
Danlin, did you want to add anything, or are we good?
I can just talk a little bit briefly about sort of the guiding framework that we used at the policy committee as we made our recommendation to the broader board. In terms of, look, I mean, I'm a former teacher, but there's no way that I on a board would want to dictate specific procedures or policies on that level, right? So the sort of the guiding framework, the what and the why versus the who and the how. That's really been the guiding framework. What I would say is, as Tim noted, we would talk about top-level things. For example, if we talk about child protection, we on the board value child protection. We want that to be a value and a setup here, and to be mainstreamed in everything that we do at ISD. To set that at the board policy level, but then the what and the why of what that looks like. Do we have child protection officers? What are our procedures in which, when there's a concern? Those kinds of things have to be left there. And so when, unfortunately, the legacy policy at the time was very into the weeds on a lot of things, which made the school inflexible or less able to be adaptable. And so that was sort of the guiding framework that we went there. It may not be a satisfactory answer in terms of really sussing out the difference between the two, but that was the guiding framework that involved that. And I hope that once that's published, that will be something that will, once the policy manual is published, that will be visible to everybody to see. So I hope that somewhat helps.
Thank you. I'm going to count to 7. It's a trick that we learned. See if anybody else has any other questions. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your questions. For those of you who asked questions where we didn't have an answer, please make sure you see me or Daniela. Can you raise your hand? To make sure that we get those so that we can get back to you, okay? And now we come to the most exciting part of our program, the winners of this year's elections. And to announce that, I'm going to invite back Chris York, who is our Vice Chair of the Governance and Development Committee.
All right. So we had a very interesting election this year because it started out a bit quiet. By the end, we had 11 candidates for 3 positions, 3 trustee roles. So that was really, really encouraging to see so many people finally come out and say, hey, I want to help out, I want to participate in the board. And also very good qualified candidates as well. So I hope that you guys participated, those of you who could participated in the election. We had a record rate, I think it was 32 or 35%? 36%. Compared to previous years that usually are like somewhere around 25%. We used to have actually a rule that we needed to have at least 25% participation in order for the election to be effective. So 36% is quite impressive. So thanks to everybody who did vote, who participated, and also thanks again to those who perhaps weren't elected but were really ready to step in and help to guide and govern our school. So with that said, let's just go through the winners, the ones who were elected. So the first is Maggie. Congratulations. Come on up.
We are going to ask you to come up on stage. Oh, yeah. It's your moment.
All right. Congratulations and welcome, Maggie. All right. Good, good. All right, our second new trustee is Nicholas. Congratulations and welcome. And our third new trustee is Maraki. Oh, there she is. Okay, good. All right, congratulations and welcome to the board. Okay.
Yes, again, congratulations to the three winning candidates, and a most sincere thank you to the other 8 candidates who were not elected this time. For all 11 of you to take the time and be willing to serve the board and the association, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not that scary yet. Now we come to the end of our meeting. Before we adjourn to partake of refreshments outside, I do want to give a few shout outs and thanks to the members of our ISD family. Papa BK and Umar, who have been managing the audio-visual and live streaming technology for us this evening and throughout the year. Thank you for literally helping the board connect with the association. Big thanks to Shelley and Essie for our marketing and communications office, for their work with our emails, flyers, posters, banners, and fielding the online questions. Another big thank you to Gloria for helping organize and help set up refreshments that we're soon to partake in. She has been at every board meeting helping us and cleaning up after us. I want to thank Nika, Suzanne, Francis, Leslie, Tri, Catherine, and Ibrahima for sharing your expertise in education, management, and finance with us. You have added context and clarity to the discussions we trustees have had all year. And I cannot forget our board assistant, Daniela. She has kept us organized and on task all year. Without her assistance, my role as chair would have been exceedingly challenging. Thank you, Daniela. I have very much enjoyed working with you. And now to thank the trustees. When I received a call in August 2024, letting me know that there was a vacancy on the board and asking if I would be interested in serving as a trustee, I jumped at the opportunity. I had unsuccessfully run as a trustee candidate the previous spring, but I still had the desire to serve and give back. If you were to ask any of us trustees why we choose to serve, we would say it is to give back. We have all found ISD to be a special place. For me, serving as a trustee, as secretary last year and as chair this year, has made ISD an even more special place. I am thankful that last year's board offered me the opportunity to serve. I'm just glad my kids aren't here, otherwise this would be a real mess. I'm thankful to this year's board for all of your support in my role as chair. And I want to single out 2 other trustees to express my thanks to them for their service as they are leaving the board, just as I am. Neither of them were able to join us this evening, but if you can do me a favor, when you see Jules and Latoya, tell them that my words brought tears to your eyes. Latoya has served as the chair of the Buildings and Grounds Committee for the last 2 years. This year, she also served as our secretary. She always brings keen community insight into the boardroom that helps us take a holistic approach to governing. Jules was appointed in October 2024 after a previous trustee resigned. Jules had served as board chair at a previous school. He brought the experience he gained in that role and fit right into how we operate here at ISD. He graciously offered, and we heartily accepted, him to be appointed to serve this year, where he has served as chair of our Governance and Development Committee. And even though their time on this board is ending, their impact and legacy is not, and they will still be members of our community next year, so we get to keep them for a little while longer. For our returning trustees and for our newly elected trustees, you have work ahead of you, but it's good work. The times, they are a-changing. Rest assured that the work we did this year gives you a solid foundation for next year and the years beyond. You have a solid administrative team led by Nika to support and provide for you. You have a community that embraces you, each and every one of us. You hold an almost sacred trust before you to govern the ISD community, to direct and guide the school, so that not only our current students and children succeed, but future Jaguars as well. Have faith in each other. Have faith in the work you do. Have faith in the ISD community. And there will be little that can prevent you from succeeding. Thank you all very much for attending the 2026 Annual General Meeting. For those of you here with us, please join us outside for refreshments, and have a good night.
BK, before we go, I want to say thank you, Tim. Like, you've always been present. I can text him no matter. Tim, I need to see you. Tim's in my office 10 minutes later, coming from his house. Thank you for your dedication and your love for this community. I'm grateful for you, and I wish you good luck on your future endeavors. All right? And I'll see you at graduation. Did you all know that he'll be handing the diploma to his daughter? What a special occasion. Thank you, Tim.